Welcome, fledglings and returning veterans, to part 1 of today's basic episode. Today we'll be tackling controls. Now I'm gonna go over three types of these, which I'm gonna be calling the D-pad configuration, which is used by Armored Core 1 until Armored Core Silent Line, dual analog column configuration, which is used in Armored Core Nexus until Verdict Day, and lastly the PSP configuration, which is used in the PSP ports of Generation 3 games. They are These are original names, I know. And also, we'll go over the D-pad configuration first. This is the very first type of control scheme in Armored Core, the series itself. This setup is default for Armored Cores 1, Project Phantasma, Master of Arena, 2, Another Age, 3, and Silent Line. Even though the last two are on the PS2, which is kind of stupid, even in my eyes, because the PS2 has the dual shock. I still don't get why. Anyhow, moving on. So now I'm just gonna show a few clips of me playing with both styles, especially with the PS2 version of the D-pad style and the PS1 controller of the D-pad style. Starting off with the PS2 controller. It plays very much the same as the PS1 controller, but the only difference is the EO and the extension equipment buttons, especially with the left and right trigger left and right third, but I forgot what the hell they L3 and R3. There we go. Now you might be wondering in this clip, why am I just suddenly hopping all over the place? This is actually what some call bunny hopping. It's actually quite useful style of moving around. Actually, saves your energy. And anyway, before I accidentally go on a tangent, I'm gonna do another video on this next time. Okay, now we have the PS1 version. The only difference is that this you don't have the whole extensions and EOS equipment, since those two parts weren't implemented yet. And as you can see, I am quite struggling here as I have not played Armored Core 1 in a while. Eh, Anyhow, I think we should move on to the dual analog configuration. Now going over to the dual analog controller setup. This is used during the Armored Core Nexus and until Verdict Day, which is the last known release of Armored Core, which is pretty solid, not gonna lie. Now I'll just briefly go to the control scheme. Now I'm using Armored Core 4 for this because I already showed earlier that it's actually that the PCSX does not lag too much, but Last Raven and Nexus actually lag. I do not know why, but I think it's because both games require more processing power, I think, and my computer is kind of potatoey. So basically, this breaks down to left analog for movement, right analog for viewing, the left button for boosting. Quick boosting is the new one here with the right button, because in the Nexus and Last Raven, actually that's where the swap weapon is for the right button. And I think EO and overboost is actually on the L3 button. Anyhow, so let's just go over how the controls work in actual gameplay. Roll the clip. I'm just gonna add one thing. This is more or less a personal preference, but I actually prefer the PSP and the D-pad controls, considering the whole press the trigger to turn right or turn left, because the analog for me seems a bit too flimsy and I might accidentally look down when I want to look right. Yeah, that's kind of a double-edged thing for me, but it's more or less a personal preference. Now, let's move on to the PSP controls. Shall we, guys? Moving on. Okay, finally, the PSP controls. So, this configuration is actually a weird love child between the D-pad controls and the analog controls. But it mostly takes from the D-pad controls, considering the PSP has one analog stick. And the only difference between the D-pad and this is that you can use the analog for movement this time. So far, this is one of the more difficult control schemes in their default state. That is, because the controls are too cramped in one space. PSP really needs a second analog stick. Anyhow, I ended up ditching some of the controls for this, especially the whole drop part system, which is actually introduced in this game. I think because I don't remember Armored Core 2 having the whole parts dismount concept yet. I might try to look it up after the recording of this. Anyhow, so let's see this control scheme in action, shall we? Now, some of you might be wondering, Rashi said this is the most difficult control scheme, but you're playing like you've played it 1,000 times before. I actually modified my control scheme to my own personal preference. Basically, all I did was actually keep the whole movement thing on bounded to the analog, meaning I don't turn whenever I swipe left or right with my analog stick, but I actually put that on the triggers on the PSP. And honestly, this is what I like about the control scheme of Armored Core. Just like the mechs, you can personalize the control scheme. Anyhow, I think we're gonna do Armored Core leg types next for episode 2. So be on the lookout when that drops. Anyway, hope this small controller guide has been helpful. I might post the pictures of my control scheme in the community tab right there on the channel. Oh, and I think I might do a shorts for that bunny hopping tutorial, since it's actually just easy. But I don't think it's honestly gonna be a, I don't know, 5-minute, 2-minute video. It's just gonna be at least a minute. Anyway, love you guys as always. Do the usual, like, comment, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you lovely sons and guns next time. Rush out.